On behalf of myself and everyone here and all the fans around the world over the last, how many years now since the first movie came out? 13?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something like that, yeah.
Thank you very much for making these movies.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. I do have to send apologies from Martin and Ian and Richard, who would all love to be here, but Martin and Richard are on stage in London and unable to get away. And Ian's shooting a movie. That's right. Yes, that's what's happening, isn't it? Yes. But they do send their love, and I'm sure you'll see them again sometime on some other project.
So Peter, are you done with the last movie yet?
No, we're still working. We're sort of, I mean, the creation of the movie never really stops, and so what we're doing at the moment, I mean, it's editing, but it's a lot more than editing because we've got battle sequences to do and a lot of other, rather intricate things, and so we're doing motion capture for that. Or we're doing animation, in the case of some of the big creatures, and so I'm supervising that. Then that goes on to the motion capture stage. Then I go on with a virtual camera and I film it, which I absolutely love doing. So I'm still shooting the movie in essence. They haven't stopped me filming it yet.
Well, if you're looking to shoot a big battle, I think we have 6,000 extras who might be able to do that.
I know, they would be good too, wouldn't they? They'd know what to do.
Well, let me ask you something about how the movies are made. As you said, you're doing a lot of this motion capture and going into the digital environment with the camera to capture things. The people who've worked together on stage, is this the first time some of you have met here at Comic-Con, even though you've done the movie together?
Yes.
Some of us, yeah.
Yes? Have any of you ever been in scenes together and never met before? Yes?
We worked together, and I didn't meet Kate until well after I'd finished working with her.
Really?
It seems to be my run of things.
It was great.
Wow. Did either of you complain that the other person was stealing focus?
Yeah, she took ages to come out of her trailer, and
You had that big long.
I kept eating
tail.
your snacks, and I was in your way all the time. Yeah, it was kind of amazing.
Peter, when you started back in 1995 when you first started about doing these movies?
95 or 96, I think, sometime like that.
So by the time this film is released, once it's released, and it'll still be running in 2015, you will have spent 20 years thinking about this world. Did you imagine that this was going to take a generation of your life? And is that a happy thing for me to say?
Well, it's a commitment, isn't it, really? It's a commitment. But no, and it's a commitment I have really enjoyed taking. It's been you never know what's going to happen next. I mean, the very first thing that we ever pitched to Miramax back in 95, was to make The Hobbit as a single movie, and if that was successful, we'd do 2 Lord of the Rings movies. That was the pitch. That was what we, sort of, things went a bit differently, didn't they? But
yes. Wait, it was originally pitched to be 2 movies?
Yeah, well, The Hobbit was going to be, we were going to shoot The Hobbit first as one movie, and then if that was successful, we would do Lord of the Rings back-to-back 2 movies, and that was the pitch to Miramax. That was the original pitch. And so everything just changes. It's organic. So it would be really boring if it was 20 years where you had it all laid out, you knew exactly what was going to happen, and you were just ticking the boxes. But it's certainly it's an adventure. Every step of it's an adventure.
I do want to complain to you again, as I have before, that since The Hobbit, which was 1 book, became 3 movies, technically you owe us 6 more movies for the trilogy.
Sure, if Warners could find a way to do that, they would certainly be very happy.
Elijah?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Why don't
you're here doing this? This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I realize that.
Why don't you age? And Peter, did you know you were casting the immortal?
No, maybe I have a painting in my attic that's aging for me.
It kind of goes. The same thing also goes for the elves. I mean, Orlando or Kate. I don't know what creams they're putting down on you, but darling, I want some.
That's a good idea. We should come out with one, shouldn't we? An elf face cream.
I do have, as a fan, I do have a question for the elves, people who played elves in the movie. So, since elves are immortal,
You can call us elves. We like it.
you like being elves?
Distinguish between people who played elves and people who are elves.
You might be an elf. Do elves, do you have to think differently, or are you thinking as a human? Do you have to put yourself in the mind of an immortal when you do this? Do you have pity on the rest of your cast members when you're in character?
Yes, I was typecast.
Yes?
No, they're incredibly generous. Look, I was just grateful to get a job in this one. I thought my time was over in Middle-earth. So.
Yeah, you and me both.
Are elves generous, do you mean? Or have Peter been generous to bring you back? What do you mean?
A bit of both.
Okay.
No, but I do think Galadriel's incredibly generous. Yeah, it was a big stretch for me.
Just to get you out of the trailer, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Peter, can we talk about the tone of the movies? When the trilogy of The Hobbit was announced, my understanding is that the tone of the movies would sort of progress toward the tone of Lord of the Rings movies to sort of match up when you watch them all together. How would you say the tone has changed from the first movie, from An Unexpected Journey to Desolation and Smog, and how's that extended in this movie?
Well, I think it's extended the way that you would imagine it would extend seeing the first two. It's a progression, and it's certainly, I just about everybody in this room knows what's going to happen at the end of The Hobbit, never mind. You know, there is a lot of sadness and tragedy, and, you know, which is good. It's always great when you can kill off some main characters. I'll tell you what, it's like, as a filmmaker, thank God, like when you can finally kill somebody, because it gives you a chance to do something, you know, hopefully that's powerful and emotional, and otherwise you're a little bit, I mean, it's so anyway, we do get to kill a few of them this time around, so it's good. And I think you'll feel it getting quite, yeah, well, I mean, dark isn't the word. I mean, these are fun movies. They're fun, you know, even, I mean, the Rings movies were fun. I don't think, they're just, you know, but yes, it's not as comical as the first Hobbit movie, for sure, and they're progressively getting towards the tone of the Fellowship of the Ring. Do you know, Elijah was 18 years old when we did Fellowship, by the way. I was just trying to work that out.
And he's still 18 years old. Philip, as one of the screenwriters, when having the luxury of telling the story over 3 movies instead of 1, do you wish you had been able to include more things in the first 2 movies? I mean, in the first 3 movies? If you had this sort of pace of storytelling that you have in The Hobbit as opposed to Lord of the Rings, are there things that you guys wish you could have put in the first 3 movies that you had to take out just for time?
Yeah, you mean in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, sure.
Say, Tom.
I think of them as just a continuation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, the Old Forest, definitely, and Tom.
Did you think about Tom Bombadil at all? Did you consider about it?
We did. Pete had some very funny ideas, including seeing his hat while they were on the road. Do you remember that? We actually wrote that into the script. No, that will have to be for another generation of filmmakers, I suspect.
Did you have